What's going on, everybody? My name is Broxten Davis. I'm a performance media analyst at one of the largest advertising agencies in the world. I'm also the host of the Broxten Digital Show, where I bring on some of the best marketers and advertisers in the industry and get the advice and insights out of them that Gen Z and the next generation of young professionals need to really accomplish and succeed in their early career. With that, something that I've really identified after doing the show, we're about 25 episodes in now, is that it's just pretty obvious that AI has kind of taken things over in our industries and has, been the forefront of what's being talked about. And all these professionals that I bring on, a lot of them talk about, almost our generation is expected to have these AI skills and know how to use it to move the needle. But when it comes to that, there's a lot of confusion and also a lot of people using AI and making it look like they use it to move the needle on the internet, but in reality are not saving themselves any billable hours or saving themselves any money or driving value for clients. There's a lot of ways to make it look like you're doing amazing things with AI, and it's really just fluff. You can create really nice visuals, stuff like that. But anyways, this is going to be the first video that I put out of just trying to spread my AI and automation knowledge to the next generation, and even just all marketers and advertisers in general, for an industry that is so reliant on tech and everything like that. And being that I work at a huge holdco agency and I'm seeing things at the largest scale, I just think there is a bit of a disconnect, and it's almost surprising at the non-integration of AI in a lot of these large agencies, or even just executive individuals who are not building autonomous workflows and building agentic AI and using it to actually move the needle. There's a lot of confusion and just wanting to stick to the way things have always been done because that's easier. But what I'm finding is I'm actually able to save a ton of time, a ton of money. A lot of these AI use cases are, for me personally, I just build them based on what I'm doing. And today we're going to get into how I produce my podcast. I'm sure a lot of you have wondered, how does somebody with a 9-to-5 and just living the busy life of a young professional have time to do this weekly podcast? For those of you who don't know, I put out a weekly show every Friday, usually about an hour to hour and a half long, of me interviewing an advertising and marketing professional. I typically record in advance. They're not live, but I also put out a lot of clips. You got to make thumbnails. There's a ton of content that goes into it, and just a ton of deliverables that come out of the other end once you record it. So what we're going to do is just get into how I record, edit, and go from a raw recording in Riverside to actually seeing my finished product on the end. Clips, thumbnails, announcement statics, MP4 that runs through my playbook, a carousel that makes a playbook, a blog post, as well as your edited long form video. Everything that you would need for a podcast and to support it the whole week that it's live is created in one shot. We went from spending really hours on this. I would spend an entire day editing one long form episode to me prompting Claude, it knowing what to do since I have this workflow built out, and going from those raw recorded videos in Riverside of myself and my guest to that finished product with the final video in its long form, as well as all those different assets I just talked about. But with that, to start, first things first is we got to get the files where they need to be. So that's obviously something important for Claude is to know the files that it's going to be working on. So what we're going to do is pull up our Finder here, and this is where our files live. So I record in Riverside. I'm not going to pull up the platform or anything, but feel free to check them out. Great tool for getting your podcast up and running. They're upgrading pretty fast too, so a lot of things on there to help you start, grow, make sense of making a podcast, because there is a lot more that goes into it than just sitting down and talking to people, which is what I figured out. But anyways, right here, this is what we would see typically for one of my videos after I record on Riverside and download the files. The only difference is right here, you'll see two videos for me. Typically it's just one. For this one, something got cut off. There was a mistake in the audio, so there's just two clips for me. I let Claude Code know beforehand on that, so that's not going to be an issue. But typically what you'd see here is a subtitles file, a video file of my guest, and a video file of myself. What we're going to do is then go in to my Broxten Digital Show workspace, but in the Finder, not in Claude Code. I have an inbox folder set up, which is where I put the raw recorded stuff, and there's an inbox watcher built into this automation, so it sees when I put something in there and knows that we're going to be starting a new podcast. So simply, what we're just going to do here is drag these into this folder. Okay, we are good to go. Those are now in the workspace in the inbox folder. And now we can go to Claude Code. We are in the Broxten Digital Show workspace. And what we're just going to do is I typically just say, edit the latest, being that this is for a demo video. This is going to be an example of me editing the video I just actually posted today with Chris Green. This is just going to be AI Demo 01. So just like that, we have our raw files, get them where they need to be so Claude knows where they're at. And now we're just going to go ahead and tell Claude, while it's in the correct workspace, edit the latest, which lets it know it's good to look at the inbox, and also AI Demo 1, which is telling it that this is for the AI demo. We're not just re-editing what we already did. So it's going to do its thing. This does take a while. I did do the long form render before the video to save some time. That's the longest part. It usually takes an hour to 2 hours to get the long form rendered. It'll take both of ours, break things down, put them together, do some different QAing, and then spit it back to me and say, hey, here's the long form. That does take a while, but typically, the carousel, the clips, the thumbnails, everything like that is pretty quick, especially if it knows what you want. I also typically do a guest prep, which I'll get into in a different video. But anyways, yeah, I have a guest prep automation built out as well. What this does, so let's say before I talk with Chris Green, I find a headshot in his LinkedIn and I say, prep for the upcoming guest, Chris Green. I give the LinkedIn link and I give the headshot, and it gets everything I need ready to run this podcast workflow. That's a little bit smaller, pretty simple automation. So maybe we can cover that in a different video. Today, we're just going to be focusing on the bulk of the content for the podcast, just because one, I know that 90% of people probably who want to start a podcast, this is the reason they don't, is because of all this content work. And then two, you can take kind of the way I'm working with AI here and the way I'm using it to edit and cut up my podcast and apply that to any different area of life where you're kind of doing something similar, whether it be for a client, making content differently for yourself. There's a million ways to skin a cat and use AI to move the needle with what you're doing. And one of the best ways that I've found to do that is to take what somebody else is doing, kind of reverse engineer it as much as you can, and how does it apply to what I'm actively working on, which is exactly how I came up with this. Seeing creators use AI to make these giant clipping pages and create, AI generated videos. I was like, man, I'm doing human generated videos. Why not just use AI to make those same edits and everything that people are using with AI generated videos, but still having the human aspect, which is, where you end up with this podcast workflow. One other thing I guess we'll start getting into, because now we're going to start getting into the different gates of the workflow. So as you saw, I downloaded the videos from Riverside, added them to the inbox for my automation to see. And then now I'm telling it, hey, go ahead and edit the latest. Now there's going to be 4 human stop gates, and these are to allow me to still maintain a human in the loop and make sure that we don't just go edit the latest. It spends all these tokens, does all this stuff, and then I look at the stuff and it's not ready to check out. So right here, you'll see gate 1 just got loaded up, and that is the lip sync. So one of the big things I noticed just recording remote is sometimes the lip sync could be off. So what I have for gate 1, which is the first place where the workflow stops and checks something with me, I tell it to go ahead, it keeps moving. This is gate 1 where it does the lip syncs. I'm not going to play these videos because, if you want to go watch the show, feel free and you can get this. But all this does is check especially the lip sync. So I go through, watch these upon it being good to go. Good to go. So let's say, all right, we'll say approved, move on to gate 2. And it's going to know that, all right, the lip sync is on. I'm good to start rendering the clips and the long form video, because you wouldn't want to render a long form video, spend all that time, that effort, those tokens to then have the lip sync be completely off and needing to start from scratch to get it back on. That's how a lot of these workflows work. When you do it the first or second time, you need to identify the issues and then go in and change the workflow to fix those issues and allow you to be the human in the loop when those issues arise. A lot of times that's kind of my human in the loop philosophy, is if you continue to repeat and see, man, AI really sucks at this, that typically means it's a good spot to stop and have a gate where you're a human in the loop that's saying, I approve this, or here's the quick little tweak. Like, let's say this wasn't perfect. I'd have to go back and forth a little bit with Claude here and get it lined up and then move on to gate 2, not just do the entire workflow. With smaller workflows, it doesn't matter as much, but with large workflows like this, where you're dealing with 10, 15, 20 gigabytes of videos, everything like that, as well as just all this separate content that needs to be organized, all look good, all be QA'd. You want to have these workflows really locked down, and I would say it's just worth spending time perfecting the workflow as well as perfecting the content. If you spend a bunch of time getting a thumbnail to try to be perfect, rather than doing that every time, go in and check out on the back end, how did I have this thing prompted wrong? How could I prompt it better, provide it with better context to just create this thumbnail how I want it every time? That's been my philosophy with this workflow, and it's been just a continuing thing that has gotten better and better. That gate 2 is ready to go. So what gate 2 does is it renders the thumbnail an announcement static that looks similar to the thumbnail but is used across different social platforms, as well as a 916 and 4.5 static. Pretty much just giving me anything I need to post on any platform and announce, hey, this is the post that's up. This is going to help you build familiarity with the thumbnail. I have it create all these assets, and then what I do is just go ahead and check in on them, make sure everything looks right. I do kind of have them templated out, so they're going to look pretty similar every time, just catered to the guest or the episode that I'm working on, and those should be good to go. Sometimes, somebody's headshot will appear too small. The headshot that I get in the prep is how you get the thumbnail to look as good as it does, or just sometimes something will be wonky and you'll need to do some edits. That's another reason why this gate is there. There's nothing worse than going to upload your YouTube video and got it uploaded, got the long description written out, everything like that, and then next thing you know, your thumbnail looks off and you got to go back into the workflow and edit everything. That's just the worst. So this is another example of a great place to stop, allow the human in the loop to make sure that everything's as it should be and that the AI is operating per the workflow's instructions. All right, and as I was saying, here are those thumbnails for us to check out. So Claude Code is a really nice preview, right in the chat here. Go ahead and check things out. In my opinion, this looks pretty clean. Chris's face looks spot on. Everything's kind of sized up as it should. So we're going to be good to go there. Those are our thumbnails. And like I said before, if not, we would go ahead and, make these edits here before moving on. But we're good here. So we're going to go approved, move on to gate 3. And similar to the last time, we're going to let Claude Code do its thing and run the workflow, and we'll check back in when gate 3 is ready to rock. All right, and as I was saying, that does take a little bit of time to render those clips just because it takes some time. That it doesn't happen immediately. But what the AI is doing in the background is going through the long form, identifying the 6 to 8 areas that would make the best clips, and then it goes ahead and proposes those to me. I pick what I want, or I just have it make all of them if they're all good, and then it goes ahead and makes the clips. And then the final stop at gate 3 looks like this, where you can preview all of the clips. Right here, there's just a few of them, but typically I'll walk through all of them, choose what I want, and just make sure everything looks straight. I like to do 4:5 and 9:16, so that way I have stuff for LinkedIn, and then also your other social platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels do the 9:16. And then on top of that, there's an end card with each size, and then also a thumbnail with each size. So quite a bit of content that goes into just the clips. If you think about it, 3 pieces of content per clip, and there's 2 different ratios. So it gets to be a lot of work, especially with these clips across all these different platforms. So this is one of the ways to make it easier and just have everything built at once, all your clips. So that is gate 3, which brings us to the final gate. I'm going to say that these are approved and move to gate 4. And what gate 4 is the final gate. That's the last chance of hey, on the AI side, on Claude's side, I'm done with the workflow. Podcast is ready to be uploaded to YouTube and everything. Go ahead and check out what you need. What I do there is just go ahead and check out some different areas through the long form video, give it a watch, check out some different areas, make sure that the lip sync stays on, make sure that the ending is intact, make sure that the intro is intact. I go and check all the other content, the playbook, the carousel, all the different clips, the clip covers, the clip end cards, just ensuring that everything is good, giving it that last human pass of, all right, there's no hallucination, there's no random weird looking stuff that AI sometimes does, and also make sure that everything is sounding like me and actually in my voice. I have a humanizer protocol on my podcast workflow that takes every piece of content or words that are written that come out of this workflow as a product. All of those words are ran through this humanizer protocol that is trained on tens of 20s of 30s of thousands of my words written from my email, different blog posts, different college things, just trained in my voice, and I run that humanizer protocol over everything that comes out to make sure that none of it sounds like AI slop. All of those posts that you see that say that are just clearly AI written, you're not going to have that with this, because the AI that's writing your post knows your voice, and you're also the human in the loop making sure that it sounds like you and rewording stuff if needed to. So that's the reason for the gates. Like I said, to kind of recap, gate 1 is just a simple, make sure the lip sync is on, make sure we're starting off on the right foot. Gate 2 is make sure the thumbnail is right. It's one of the most important pieces of the whole piece of content and isn't something you really touch till right when you're about to post. So it stops, make sure the thumbnail and any announcement assets that go alongside with it are good to go and look how they're supposed to look. And then gate 3 lets me choose which clips I'd like to do based off of the AI scoring them and recommending, hey, I think these are the areas out of the long form that are best for clips. Then I go ahead and have it generate those clips, and then the full gate 3 is me checking through those clips and approving them, being that they're another huge piece of the content part of every episode, another area that's worth stopping and making sure we're aligned before moving forward, or before getting to the point where we're trying to post on socials and realizing that nothing's right. What the workflow does between gates 3 and 4 as well, being that 4 is the final stop, it builds all of the support and assets. So your carousel, which is the playbook that I post every week. Anything else that didn't get created, the blog post, I have a email follow-up that I send all of my guests. It generates that and writes it as a draft in my email inbox. Pretty much just everything that goes into the podcast comes out on gate 4. So we'll resume there when gate 4 is ready, and we'll kind of just walk through all of this content we have, showing you guys, exactly what we have when we go from, 2 raw Riverside recordings to this final product here, thanks to this AI workflow. Like I said, I am using no editing tools, no manual editing, no cuts, just a human in the loop AI automation that totally takes my podcast from raw, unedited to completely edited, plus all of the different content that goes into supporting a podcast. All right, and we have reached gate 4. So at this point, there's nothing left for me to do in Claude Code. It's created everything I needed to. Let me preview everything that I needed to in the chat to make live changes or ad hoc edits. Now we can check out, we have our long form video right here. So, so here's our long form. Welcome back, everybody, to all the way through a nice 55-minute episode. To the ending there, very nice. That's awesome. Obviously, I would do some more checks than that, and everything like that. Also, we got our subtitles here, and we can just kind of go through and see things. We have all of our different shorts. There they are. Different clips. One in portrait, one in 9:16. 6 different clips for this episode, so we got all of those. We also have some other assets that I'll preview in the browser. Here's our thumbnail, everything nice, organized, where it needs to be, ready for you to go ahead and get stuff together and throw it on YouTube or whatever it may be. And then to just kind of give you an idea of some of the other assets. So this is, the 9-page carousel PDF that I have it create, which looks pretty clean in my opinion. For, you're not going to one-shot this if you tell AI to make a 9-page PDF playbook. This takes some tweaking and some iteration, but once you bake that into the workflow, you have something consistent. Here's our blog that gets produced for every episode and gets automatically published. I don't even go on this website and publish it. I just tell Claude Code, hey, go ahead and make sure that blog post is good. And we get our full blog post published to the internet with all the links. It fetches the links for me. But this isn't how this automation started. This automation started with me just trying to edit my long form. And as I realized what I needed, as I realized how things could change, I edited the workflow. I had Claude Code change the workflow and continued to iterate on it until it was exactly what I wanted. So that's what I think the biggest takeaway in this video is for a lot of people, is that with AI, it's not that you need to have some crazy education or certification or that you're too far behind. It's more of, do you have the willingness to keep trying until you figure it out? With Claude Code, with using natural language, you can literally just go back and forth until you accomplish what you want to accomplish. Whether you're providing screenshots, videos, showing Claude Code what's wrong and working it out and figuring it out is really the way that I figured a lot of this stuff out. I'm not some crazy educated person. I didn't study AI at all. I've all self-taught pretty much just from YouTube creators like what I'm doing. But yeah, so to kind of just recap, this was, my video where we go through and go from how I record a raw episode of my podcast, an hour-long episode with myself and a guest, 2 different videos, to going to a fully edited, at least 6 clips, fully edited long-form video, static assets to support it, thumbnails, everything you may need for a podcast, totally ready to go. And the only thing the human has to do is, throughout the 4 gates, stop in and either approve or tweak. And once you get your workflow pretty iterated on and pretty ironed out, you don't have to keep doing that. It's really just a one-shot, kind of like what you saw here. So I hope that if you're somebody who wants to start a podcast or is knees deep in a podcast and can't, get ahead, this is something that really helps. And then if you're not podcasting, but you are a marketer, advertiser, or really just any kind of professional and have the feeling that you need to be using AI more, take this video and take what I'm doing and start applying it to stuff that you're doing in your day-to-day digitally. I'm sure there's some kind of connection between what I'm doing here. So make that connection, ask Claude Code, hey, how can I take this video and apply his concepts to what I'm doing? And you'll be off to the races. But like I said, this is video 1 of the AI education series that we're going to be doing on my channel. So please tune in, please subscribe, hit the like button if you found some value, and subscribe for more because I'm going to be releasing a lot of these. And this is going to be a great way for you to stay in touch on what's happening in AI and to find ways that you can actually use it in your day-to-day to move the needle as a marketer or advertiser. Peace.